me, I'll give you number one is showing up unannounced, showing up at my doorstep, and can I have 15 minutes when you're maybe even on the phone or you got someone in your office, and that would certainly be the top one for me. Second one, as I mentioned earlier, not being prepared. I mean, I was astounded that some of these questions, the last rep that came in, they couldn't answer. So at least come in prepared. So I got number one and number two. Maybe one of you guys can help me with number three.
Yeah, I'll try. So using generic flyers, using generic approaches I understand we're going to get there at some point, but you know, I can see those out on the web. I hear from different things. I can pick them up at booths. I can do a lot of those things. So I think understanding the details of what I need and the ROI that might be positioned for me. I'm not looking for them to decide exactly how much money or how it would work with me, but understand the domains that I work in and what I'm maybe looking for, and understand that don't try to get right to the sale. Understand that it's a journey, and it's going to be building that relationship about a person, about their organization, and learning more about that. So oftentimes, before I go to any meeting with anyone, I've done my research, I've looked at their videos, I've had an opportunity to see what they are, so I can position how I want to ask the questions to make the best use of my time to be able to do that. That might be video conferencing. A lot of them want to do the face-to-face right off. That I just don't have the time for that, quite honestly. So it really is a basic approach of, you know, let's get an understanding of where we're looking at, and then when we have some time, maybe we can get to a face-to-face.
I think I would just build off of what Ted said about showing up unannounced is a big deal. I've had that happen just yesterday. I had a rep that showed up kind of unannounced, been trying to get in with a drug, and the answer was no. It had been reviewed at P&T a couple times. There was a new discount program with this particular drug. It was like 50% off, but he left me a couple messages, then just showed up without me returning his call. I didn't see him. I sent him packing, and then we're going to write him up in a program called Rep Tracks, just so that the real aggressive approach doesn't work too well in our business, especially with, as Jeff had mentioned earlier, relationships are key. So one way to build relationships is to kind of support the local pharmacy organizations, try to sponsor events, try to, you know, get some face time and get to know people if you can outside of that. So that I would stick with that. Like that the real aggressive approach is really tough to. We don't have time.
You know, at Landmark, we're now a part of a 45 hospital system. We're no longer a single sole entity. We're part of Prime Healthcare Services, which is out of California. And with that, they've centralized an awful lot of the corporate P&T activities. So at the local level, we no longer have, we're no longer decision makers at the local level. So I'm not allowed to sign contracts, for one. I can't sign any letter of commitments or anything along those lines. So sometimes, you know, it's tough to get a sales rep to understand that. And even after I tell them that, then they still forward a LOC and say, can you please sign this? And I just continue to say, no, I can't. So, you know, understanding my business, and I know things have changed, and some of the reps come in and they don't even understand that Landmark is part of a 45 hospital system. So, and I guess that gets back to a little bit about being prepared for the account that you're calling on, and touches a little bit what Jeff had said as well.
So I would just add one thing to that. One story I had was a couple of real aggressive tactics where the reps will kind of go around the pharmacy, and they'll try to get onto the hospital floor, talk to the physicians that are, you know, their customers per se. But we had a rep one time that came in and decided to page the hospitalist. So he came in, you know, got on, called the operator, tried to page the hospitalist to one of the hallway phones. So again, very aggressive tactic. That very quickly got through the local directors network. This guy was basically blackballed, and his name is still mud. Yes.
Yeah, similarly, there was a rep to try to get one of a very expensive item on our formulary, and the attempt was to go through the ED director who she knew from when the ED director was working at another hospital, and they had formed a friendship. So instead of coming through me as the director, they went through her as a director of nursing in the ED to try to get a drug called Kcentra on formulary and to try to generate the interest in it and so forth. So, you know, we're accountable for everything that happens with medications in the hospital, from regardless of where they are used. So it has to come through the director of pharmacy, and to try to backdoor us that way is not a good way to do business.